We're going to be looking at how to graph coordinates. This type of graph right here, when you see this kind of graph, it has a name. It's called a coordinate plane. A plane just means it's like two-dimensional. It's made up of two directions. So you have an up and down and you have a left and right. So it could be called a coordinate plane. It could be called a coordinate grid. Or it could be called a coordinate graph. All right, so you always see the word coordinate, but it could be called a plane, a grid, or a graph as well. This coordinate plane is made up of two lines, right? Two directions. So you have the lines going up and down, and you have the lines going left and right. These lines are called the axes. The one that goes horizontally, this one down here, left and right, is called the x-axis. This is my x down here. And then the one going up and down right here is called my y-axis. We can label it, and sometimes they come labeled for you already, but that's good to see, the x and the y. And then the reason we like coordinate planes is that it's really easy to identify a specific point on a coordinate plane. And those specific points are made up of something called an ordered pair. And you can see that the word order is in the word ordered pair, which means that the order that you put the numbers matters, right? So x is always going to come first and then y. So every point has two names, kind of like you have a first and a last name. Every ordered pair, every point on the graph is going to have two names, an x and then a y. And it always, just like your first name comes before your last name, you always put the x before the y. Or you can think of it alphabetically, x, y, z. So x and then y. So one thing you have to be able to do is write the name for each point. So they're asking me here to write the name for A. So if I look at A, right, I want to see down here, A lines up with the number 1, okay? And I'm doing this part first, right, because X has to come before Y. So I would write this in parentheses. The X value of A is 1. And the Y value, if I look over this way now, where is Y? Where is A on the Y axis? Kind of like a number line, right? It's just going up and down now. Where is Y, or where is A on this number line? It lines up with the 4, so 1 and 4. If I look at B, here's B. So I always want to do X first, that's down here. So where does B line up on the X axis? It lines up at the 2. And then where does it line up on the Y? It lines up at the 5. Okay, X and then Y, that's the important thing. C, if I look at C, look at X first. So C has a value of 5 for X. And if I look over here, its value for Y is 6, right? With D, D's down here. So I'm looking at 4 for X, and then I look over here for Y. So 1 for Y. And notice points can share numbers, right? This E is gonna have the same, well, its X value, right, is what? 0. And its Y value is 1, okay, which is the same Y value as D. But why are these two different points? Because they're X. They have it's like having the same last name, but you have a different first name, okay? It changes where it is on the graph. So another thing you might have to do is actually name the point instead of a dot. They may just give you a location, and you have to pick a point inside that, right? So it says to name a point inside the square. So if we want to name, we just want to pick the easy points to pick are the ones where the lines cross. So if we want to pick this point right here, okay, what is its name? Okay, what is its first name? What is its X? It's 6. And then what is its last name? What is its Y? It's 3, 6, and 3. All right, the last thing you're going to have to worry about doing with coordinate planes, at least for now, is graphing points. So remember, when you're graphing a point, you always want to start at 0, 0. That's down here in the corner. Then you remember, kind of like, remember you always have to walk to the elevator before you can go up or down. So that's just a way to remember how to graph a point. You walk, so you're starting, like this is the front of your building. If you want to go upstairs in the building, starting at the bottom floor, you got to walk to the elevator, and then you can go up and down. So you always walk before you rise. So walk, that means go left or right first, and then go vertical, go to the elevator. Okay, that would be your Y. Oops. Okay, why do I say that? Because x comes before y. So you have to do the x part and then the y part because the order matters. All right, so u has an x value of 2 and a y value of 3. So we're going to start at 0, and we're going to walk to 2. And then we're going to go up, right? Take the elevator up to 3. And then where x is 2 and y is 3, where those meet, that intersection is this point u. You can label it with the letter u. V is 0, 5. So for this one, I start at 0, right? But I don't go anywhere. I'm going to stay here, and then I'm going to go up to 5. So sometimes points are on the axis, and that's fine. And you're going to label it V. W is 6, 5. So start at 0. Which way do I go first? You got to walk to 6. Then you can go up to where's 5. Okay, so 6 and 5 right here. And call it W. 4, 0. So I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to walk to 4. And then this one isn't going up. All right, so it's just staying on the first floor, or staying on the ground floor. So this would be X. 3.54. Now this one's a little different, right? Because 3.5, okay, if I walk to 3.5, where's 3.5? If I just look at this as a number line, 3.5 is like right here in the middle of 3 and 4, and it is on this graph too. So I go from the middle, take my elevator up to 4, it's right here. So y is not at the intersection of these two lines, right? But that's okay. Right? It's still at 3.5. This is like 3.5 right here. And then this is 4 right here. Z, you can do the same thing with fractions as well. So 7.5. So think about where 7.5 would be if you're just looking at this bottom part, this number line. 7.5 is going to be between 7 and 8. This is 7.5 right here. So I'm going to want to walk to 7.5 first, and then I want to go up to 6.5. Well, where is 6.5? Here's 6, and here's 7. 6.5 would be right in the middle. So this point is going to go up 7.5. It's going to go all the way to 6.5. This point isn't on an intersection or on a line at all, right? It's kind of hanging out in the middle of these two. That's because it had two fractions. So this is the point Z. All right, so that is graphing coordinates. Remember, you have several names for this: a plane, a grid, a graph. But basically the important part is knowing your x is horizontal, your y is vertical, and knowing that x has to always come before y. And then when you're graphing, always start at 0. Okay, always start at 0. Go left or right first. All right, walk to the elevator and then take it up. Okay, all right, see you soon.